Welcome back. Cummins Incorporated, a technology solutions provider in machines and power engines, has reintroduced its products and services, especially in the marine sector in Nigeria. At a meet and greet held in Lagos after the optioning of an ultra-modern facility, the company's management says it has established a strong foothold and presence in Nigeria to further strengthen ties with its customers.
It's not too large a gathering and also one you can consider informal in arrangement, but it is still made up of industry leaders, business representatives, and members of the diplomatic corps. Invariably then, there will be business conversations.
The team and I are eager to work with you to improve trade and investment relations to the benefit of our two countries.
Dominant in the evening's discussion is the solutions Cummins brings, especially in the marine sector of the economy.
By offering its innovative U.S. technology, Cummins is assisting companies in the maritime sector to better compete in today's challenging business environment. I'm particularly excited that Cummins, a great American company and a global technology leader in various industries, not just the marine industry, continues to be active in Nigeria, and just yesterday launched a $35 million world-class facility in Alausa, Lagos.
Backed by a century of growth and innovations, Cummins has just made an investment in Nigeria that will see boots on ground for customers real and potential.
The power generation business clearly is the anchor kind of segment for us in this country, but the marine business, comes in very close behind it. We see it as a segment supporting the oil and gas industry, which will continue to grow for us in this region.
Simply put, the engine's solution powerhouse can now deploy solutions for your marine machines need in country at the quality comparable to anywhere Cummins brand exists around the world.
My commitment to you is that our product is good. We all know that. Let's just take that for granted. It's a premium product. It's well tested. Our vision is to be here on the long term, but our commitment is to put our best foot forward because we want to create that preference for Cummins Power.
We are known for generators, but what many people don't know is our engines work in a lot of different applications, from automotive to construction to mining to pumps and to port handling equipment. But marine in Nigeria for us is actually a very important area where we have invested and where a lot of our engines are specified and deployed.
Having invested in local talents and in bricks and mortars, Cummins says Nigeria represents a market that can't be ignored.
Zamzam Hotels and Resorts is set to raise the bar in hospitality for Muslim faithful hoping to go for Hajj, an obligatory pilgrimage to the grand mosques in Mecca and Medina. In a meeting with Hajj operators in Lagos, the general manager of Zamzam Hotel, Hamid Sidine, reaffirmed the brand's commitment to giving the best value and services to Nigerian pilgrims.
Executives of the Zamzam Hotels and Resorts are here for a networking session with key Hajj operators within the Nigerian community. Apart from a close proximity to the holy site and top-notch hospitality, the Director of Sales and Marketing flaunts the unique features of the hotel brand.
We are privileged in many ways with regards to the hotels, location, service. Our hotels, whether in Mecca and Medina, are the closest hotel to Al-Haram, whether Al-Haram al-Makki or Al-Haram in Medina Munawwara. We have one of the spacious rooms in both Mecca and Medina. We will be considering and looking into having an African cuisine or a Nigerian cuisine into the two hotels. And the reason we wanted to do that is, again, we wanted to come closer to customer needs.
The management says they are also exploring ways to intensify their marketing drive to the Nigerian audience.
We have a niche of Muslims community here, and it's the largest one in Africa. We have, during the Hajj, we have international pilgrims, but our aim is to diversify also during Umrah.
In Makkah and Medina.
Lucky winners are randomly picked and rewarded with complimentary vouchers for an experience in a luxurious hotel.
I'm very happy. My husband and I were planning to go for Umrah in January. So definitely we're going to make use of it. So I'm glad. I didn't plan for this, but alhamdulillah that I was able to be one of the winners.
Zamzam Hotel Mecca and Medina has been a wonderful hotel, and the experience has been very, very good to our customers. A lot of them have really had a wonderful time staying in the hotel. It's like a home away from home.
The five-star hotel prides itself in offering the finest hospitality and promises a memorable experience for Nigerian pilgrims visiting the holy site in Mecca and Medina.
Business News is next. Here's Anne Mawodo.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Marachi. Good evening and welcome to Business News. We begin tonight with Nigeria, Niger and the Republic of Benin agreeing to set up a tripartite border patrol team to help work out anti-smuggling modalities among the three countries. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, who spoke at the end of a meeting with Ministers of Foreign Affairs from the two other West African countries, says the joint patrol team will hold its maiden meeting in Abuja later this month. And thereafter, they will recommend a date for the reopening of the land borders.
The meeting took note of all the concerns raised and agreed on the following: establishment of a monitoring and evaluation committee of the three countries, comprising ministers of finance, trade, foreign affairs, customs, immigration, and a national security advisor, with the mandate to ensure actions that would facilitate and enhance the suppression of smuggled goods and other related matters. Ensure persons from the three countries enter and exit each other's states with valid ECOWAS-recognized travel documents through recognized control posts, and establishment of a joint border patrol team comprising the police, customs, immigration, navy, and state security services of the three countries. The team is to hold its first meeting in Abuja from the 25th to the 26th of November 2019. The patrol team is to agree on the modality to carry out its operation and recommend the opening of the borders.
And let's find out how the stock market fared at the close of business today. The recent move by the central bank to limit participation in high-yielding treasury bills forced big investors back to the equities market today. It even pushed the banking sector on the NSE's main index to a multi-week high at the end of business. Chimezie Obiwago has the details.
Thank you, Anne, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm sure I wouldn't be mistaken if I say that foreign portfolio and institutional investors have stayed to come back into the equities market because of the value inherent in the low prices of stocks. With the way some stocks are right now, with a dividend yield of 10% in the next 3 months when earnings will be released, equities market, no doubt, is investment destination for now. Just look at the sector's performance. Very impressive. With the banking sector taking the upper hand, 7.04% up. Can you beat that? Access Bank, for instance, has had a trajectory of 30% growth. Zenith Bank can be said to be a bride for investors as it still has room for capital appreciation and also a high dividend payout at the end of the financial year, given what we have seen so far in the third quarter. That is evident on the top trades chart. Zenith Bank alone churned out over 167 million units today. That brings the total volume to 624.8 million shares, valued at 10.02 billion naira in 6,426 deals. The overall index went up by 1.91%. Well, I guess it's still early to call this a Santa Claus rally. Let's just wait and see what happens in the next couple of weeks. And that was the stock market report. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwago. Back to you, Anne.
Well, we hope the Santa Claus rally continues till tomorrow. We'll see how that turns out. In the meantime, world-leading stock market closed mostly negative today following reports that Washington wants stronger concessions from China on intellectual property protections and a cessation of forced technology transfer in exchange for rolling back tariffs on Chinese goods. Let's see the closing figures for today. With the mixed sentiments there, we end Business News tonight. Thank you so much for watching. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Amarachi. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good evening.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the Gaza operation is approaching the end. This comes as Palestinian militants group Islamic Jihad and Israel declared a halt to hostilities across the Gaza Strip today. However, a lasting ceasefire appears tenuous as they differ on terms. Here's Simon Pusey with more international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. President Donald Trump directly asked about a Ukrainian investigation into his Democratic rival Joe Biden. That's according to a top US diplomat. Bill Taylor, the acting ambassador to Ukraine, told an impeachment inquiry that a member of his staff was told Mr. Trump was keen to push for the probe. He is accused of withholding US military aid to Ukraine in order to pressure the country's new president to publicly announce a corruption inquiry into Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden hopes to run against Mr. Trump next year.
It's one thing to try to leverage a meeting in the White House. It's another thing, I thought, to leverage security assistance to a country at war, dependent on both the security assistance and the demonstration of support.
Mr. Trump has called the inquiry a witch hunt.
This is a sham and shouldn't be allowed. It was a situation that was caused by people that shouldn't have allowed it to happen. I want to find out who is the whistleblower, because the whistleblower gave a lot of very incorrect information, including my call with the president of Ukraine, which was a perfect call and highly appropriate.
Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip have launched rockets towards Israel hours after a ceasefire took effect. The truce ended 2 days of intense fighting in which militants fired some 450 rockets and Israeli aircraft carried out waves of strikes. Early on Thursday, a family of 8 were reportedly killed in Gaza. Israel said it had targeted a militant. A total of 34 Palestinians were killed in the fighting, while 63 Israelis needed medical treatment. Italy is set to declare a state of emergency in Venice after the Italian city was engulfed by 6-foot-high water levels, flooding its historic basilica and cutting power to homes. More than 80% of the city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was underwater when tides were at their highest. The city's mayor said the famous St. Mark's Basilica had suffered grave damage. The crypt at the historic landmark was completely flooded on Tuesday, and there are fears that the basilica's columns may have been structurally damaged. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte described the flooding as a blow to the heart of our country, saying the government would now act quickly to provide funds and resources. Tourists, though, are making the best of the difficult conditions.
Venice itself is very interesting for us, and in this period of alta aqua, it's more interesting than ever.
It was was a bit difficult to find food yesterday night because we walked maybe for more than 1 hour to find a shop open. But finally we find and we appreciate more our food now.
An alleged former Islamic State soldier who's been stranded between the Greek and Turkish borders for 4 days will be extradited to the US. Mohammed Darwis B, who is thought to be a US citizen of Jordanian descent, was stuck at the border for 4 days after both countries refused him entry. Turkey is currently expelling a number of foreign Islamic State fighters. The country's interior ministry said it had started the process of extraditing the man and the US had agreed to take him back. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi began his 2-day visit to the United Arab Emirates by meeting with Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Since this initial meeting, the Crown Prince has announced that the UAE and Egypt have launched a $20 billion investment platform for economic and social projects. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia have been the main backers of Sisi since he took power after the overthrow of President Mohamed Mursi in 2013. The Prince of Wales celebrated his 71st birthday in India's western Mumbai city with school children on Thursday. Children sang a birthday song and presented greeting cards to him as he cut a cake to mark the special occasion, which also happened to be Children's Day in India. He is on a 3-day visit to the country, here in Mumbai after a tour of the Indian capital city, New Delhi, where he visited a Sikh temple and a war cemetery. And finally, on a day when impeachment hearings featured grim and grave legislators, the mood was decidedly lighter on another part of Capitol Hill. Therapy dogs wagged and snuffled, bringing smiles to faces of strained staffers. Pet partners and the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council teamed up to bring dogs of all shapes and sizes to the Rayburn building as visitors stopped by for a hello. Although the dogs came on the first day of public impeachment hearings, the timing was pure coincidence, according to the company's president. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks, Simon. Still ahead on the news at 10. Olaolu Olatunde of Temple College Ikeja and Alimot Olawale of Tundip College Ikorodu emerged the most decorated athletes at the Channel's 2019 Track and Field Championships. Details coming up in sports news. Stay with us.